Dad revealed a $15 million gift for my brother, and the crowd clapped until I rose from my seat, laid the real deeds on the table, and spoke a single sentence that wiped every smile away. You know that moment when the air gets sucked right out of a room? When everyone freezes, smiles plastered, realizing they just walked straight into a trap. Well, that's exactly what happened when my father, Richard Brooks, tried to announce his precious legacy transfer to my slimy brother, Preston. But what they didn't know is that I had already set the bait, and the consequences they were about to face were years in the making. Okay, so picture this. The Greenwich Country Club, right? Champagne towers glittering, sunlight pouring through these massive windows, turning every white tablecloth into a kaleidoscope of fractured rainbows. 80 guests, all dolled up in their fanciest clothes, a string quartet playing some delicate little tune, and a low hum of polite conversation. And there I am, sitting at the edge of the head table, my fork poised over a lobster I knew I wasn't going to touch. My eyes are fixed on my father, Richard Brooks, as he slowly rises from his chair. The man just commands attention, silver hair perfect, custom tux fitting him like he was born in it. He raises his crystal flute, and just like that, the whole room goes silent. 35 years ago, I married my beautiful Eleanor, he begins, that voice of his just oozing with the practiced warmth he always saved for potential investors. Today, we're not just celebrating our marriage, but the very future of the Brooks legacy. My mother, Eleanor, is absolutely beaming next to him, her pearl necklace practically glowing. Oh, I've seen that look before. That's the look of a woman who just got exactly what she wanted. It gives me tremendous pride, my father continues, his voice swelling with importance, to announce that I'm transferring the complete Brooks Luxury Retreats portfolio to my son, Preston. He's talking $15 million in premium properties, all managed by the man who truly understands the family vision. The applause explodes. Preston stands up, this smug, self-satisfied smirk plastered across his face in his tailored suit, soaking up all the handshakes and backslaps. And then Blair Montgomery, his girlfriend, just materializes at his side, planting this kiss on his cheek that lingers, you know? Just long enough for the society photographer to get the perfect shot. That's when I finally placed my fork down. The metallic clink cut through the last echoes of their applause like a goddamn scalpel. That's an incredibly generous gift, Richard, I said, my voice coming out steady, almost conversational. But legally, you can't give away property you haven't owned since October 2021. The room didn't just fall quiet. It froze. Preston's face strained of all color, that smug smirk collapsing into something raw and utterly exposed. My mother's gasp was so loud, I heard it even from the back tables. My father's hand tightened around his champagne flute until his knuckles turned bone white. I met his eyes across the table. Those same gray eyes, just like mine. The ones that supposedly saw through everything. They never saw me coming. But that moment, that glorious, crushing moment, well, that comes later. Right now, I need to rewind. I need to show you exactly how we arrived at this perfect crystallization of consequences. It all started just 48 hours earlier. I was buckling my seatbelt in first class, watching Chicago disappear beneath the clouds. The flight attendant offered champagne, and I just declined. My phone buzzed with Preston's latest text, the third one this week. Can't wait to see you, sis. Big news to share. Oh, I bet. The private car dropped me at the estate just after 3. The November air bit right through my cashmere coat as I approached the front door. I didn't knock. Instead, I reached into my bag and pulled out the old brass key, the one they thought I'd lost years ago when I moved away. The door opened silently. Inside, their voices drifted from my father's study. Laughter. The kind that comes so easy when you think you're completely untouchable. I moved down the hallway, my heels silent on the Persian runner. The study door was slightly ajar, warm light spilling through the gap. I pressed myself against the wall, phone already recording in my coat pocket. Last month, I funneled another $50,000 to BM Interiors for consultation fees. Preston's voice carried that particular smugness he reserves for his victories. Bought Blair a 3-carat diamond. She posted it all over Instagram. My father's booming laugh followed. The audit this weekend is pure formality. Savannah's desperate for our approval. Always has been. Then my mother's voice, lighter, almost playful. I'll cry. She'll sign anything if I cry enough. She always does. And then a fourth voice joined them, male, unfamiliar, and nervous. Once she signs the beneficiary waiver, you're protected. No ownership claim means no legal standing to question the transfers. My hand found the doorframe. The wood felt solid under my palm, real, while everything else in my world tilted sideways. My stomach clenched, not from shock, but from the brutal clarity of confirmation. They weren't just favoring Preston, they were actively conspiring to rob me. The nausea hit in waves. I mean, I'd spent 29 years trying to earn their love through sheer confidence, through being the responsible one, the reliable one. Every late night studying while Preston partied. Every promotion I downplayed so he wouldn't feel inadequate. Every family photo I stepped out of because my presence somehow diminished him. I was 14 when they blamed me for Preston's failing grades because I didn't tutor him enough. 22 when they excluded me from the family Christmas card because my recent promotion made Preston feel small. And now they were betting their entire fraud scheme on my pathological need for their approval. The instinct to burst through that door and scream, to throw their betrayal in their faces, to make them see me, really see me for once, was almost physical. But I didn't. Instead, I turned and walked back down the hallway, each step deliberate, each breath controlled. The door closed behind me with a soft click. In the car, my hands shook as I pulled out my phone and texted Wyatt. I'm here, meet me at the diner. I caught my reflection in the window as the driver pulled away. My face looked exactly the same as it did this morning. Composed. Professional. The good daughter. But something fundamental had shifted behind my eyes. They placed their bet on the wrong daughter, and now I was going to show them exactly what a forensic auditor does when she finds fraud in the family books. The diner sat 3 miles from the estate, one of those roadside places that still serves meatloaf and has actual Formica tables. I slid into a corner booth at 9:30, my back to the wall, facing the door. Old habits from audit work, you know? Always see who's coming. Wyatt arrived 12 minutes later, wire-rimmed glasses slightly fogged from the November cold. He was carrying a manila envelope, the kind with the metal clasp that makes a satisfying snap when you open it. He didn't waste time with pleasantries. For years, he said, sliding the envelope across the table. I've been documenting everything. I didn't open it immediately. Instead, I studied my youngest brother. PhD student. Perpetually nervous energy that made him tap his fingers against table edges. The family forgets about Wyatt. He's quiet, unremarkable, beneath their notice. That oversight was their fatal mistake. Show me, I said. He pulled out the first document. Bank of Greenwich letterhead. Formal typography. The weight of legal consequence in every word. Notice of default. Addressed to Richard and Eleanor Brooks. I scanned the numbers. My training just took over. That particular focus that narrows the world to data points and patterns. Preston hasn't just been skimming rental income, I stated. He's drained the operating accounts dry. $800,000, Wyatt confirmed. Transferred to BM Interiors over 18 months. I did the math. Automatically. $50,000 per month, give or take. The properties generate $1.2 million annually. The books show $200,000 in losses. There's no legitimate consulting work, I said. It wasn't a question. None. I checked every invoice. Blair's company has no employees, no projects, no office space. It exists solely as a pass-through for Preston's theft. The coffee in front of me had gone cold. I took a sip anyway, needing something to ground me in the physical world while my mind processed the sheer scope of the fraud. Wyatt pulled out a second document. His hands shook slightly as he unfolded it. Personal guarantee, he said. Richard and Eleanor used the Greenwich mansion as collateral for a $3 million business line of credit. The words hit differently than I expected. Not a shock, just the hollow confirmation of how deep they'd buried themselves. The money went to cover Preston's embezzlement, Wyatt continued. The bank wants either a capital injection or clear title confirmation by Monday. If you don't sign the waiver of interest, they seize the parents' home. I looked up from the document. They bet everything on me being compliant. Yes. He slid a flash drive across the table. Spreadsheets showing systematic fraud. I've tracked every transfer, every false invoice, every manipulation of the books. It's all here. I pocketed the drive without even looking at it. My fingers found the edge of the manila envelope, tracing the metal clasp. What else? Text messages between Preston and Blair, discussing how to keep you in the dark. His voice carried an edge I'd never heard before. Laughing about it, actually. There's one from 3 weeks ago. Preston wrote, "Once the fraud is buried in the trust transfer, she'll never untangle it." Too much family loyalty to look too hard. Family loyalty. The phrase sat bitter on my tongue. I'd spent my entire adult life believing that loyalty meant something. That blood created obligations, responsibilities, bonds that transcended balance sheets and legal documents. They were counting on that belief to steal from me. They chose this, I said quietly. The realization settled into my bones, replacing the last remnants of confusion with perfect clarity. Every single step. This wasn't neglect or favoritism or blind spots. They actively chose fraud. But I'm so vindicated. Wyatt nodded. Should we warn them? Give them a chance to fix it? The question hung between us. I could see the scenario play out. I could call Richard right now, lay out the evidence, offer them 48 hours to make it right. Return the money, fire Preston, apologize. But they would just find another way to cheat. No, I said. If we warn them, they'll just adapt. Find a new scheme. A new angle. We let the trap spring exactly as they designed it. The party on Sunday, Wyatt mused. Perfect venue. Preston's already planning his victory lap. Let him celebrate publicly, I agreed. I pulled out my phone, opening the camera app. I need to photograph everything in that envelope. Every document, every text message, every spreadsheet. Then I need 3 copies stored in 3 different locations. He watched me work, the flash illuminating each page briefly before I moved to the next. The notice of default. The personal guarantee. The shell company registration documents showing Blair's signature, creating BM Interiors with zero business infrastructure. I have a forensic accounting mentor at the firm, I said, still photographing. She has contacts at the FBI Financial Crimes Unit. I'll reach out tomorrow morning. And this weekend? Wyatt asked. You act normal. Play along. Preston expects you to be intimidated by him. Eleanor expects you to be invisible. Give them exactly what they expect. I finished with the documents and handed the envelope back. Wyatt stared at it like it might bite. This destroys them, he said. Completely. They destroyed themselves, I corrected. I'm just documenting the aftermath. The waitress appeared with a coffee pot. We both declined. After she left, Wyatt leaned forward, his voice dropping lower. Are you sure about this? I met his eyes. Gray. Like mine. Like our father's. The genetic inheritance that supposedly gave us his vision, his business acumen, his ability to see through complexity. Richard Brooks taught me to trust evidence over emotion, to value competence over sentiment, to believe that truth lived in documentation, not promises. He just never imagined I'd apply those lessons to him. I've never been more sure about anything, I said. After I spent the night at a hotel nearby, Saturday morning light filtered through the leaded glass windows as I stood on the front steps of the estate, my single piece of luggage heavy in my hand. The brass knocker gleamed under my fingers. I could have used my key again, slipped in unnoticed like yesterday. But that wasn't the play today. Today, I was the dutiful daughter coming home. The door swung open before I could even knock. My mother stood there in cream linen, pearls already in place despite the early hour. Her face transformed into practiced delight. Oh, darling, we've missed you. She pulled me into a hug that smelled like Chanel No. 5 and desperation. Her arms squeezed just a fraction too tight, her voice pitched just a note too high. Everything about Eleanor Brooks is a performance, and I had finally learned to read the stage directions. Inside, Preston sprawled on the leather sofa in the living room, his phone angled to catch the best light. He didn't even look up. Hey, Save. The greeting came automatically, dismissive. I was furniture that occasionally required acknowledgement. My father rustled his newspaper from the wingback chair. Savannah, a grunt, an exhale. The minimal acknowledgement of my existence was complete. He returned to the business section. The house smelled like fresh coffee and old money. Persian rugs muffled my footsteps as I followed my mother's chattering monologue about the party tomorrow, about how wonderful it would be to have the family together, about how Preston had been working so hard on the properties. I made appropriate sounds, smiled at appropriate moments. My training ran deep. My mother cornered me in the kitchen 90 minutes later while I was rinsing my coffee cup. The timing wasn't accidental. She calculated this moment, waited until Preston disappeared upstairs, and my father retreated to his study. The kitchen has always been her preferred arena for emotional manipulation. Something about the domestic setting makes her tears more effective. Savannah, sweetheart. Her voice dropped to that trembling register I knew too well. I need to talk to you about something important. I turned slowly, deliberately, keeping my face neutral. What's wrong, Mom? The tears started immediately. Not dramatic sobbing, but the gentle kind that slid down her cheeks like she was trying to hold them back. She'd perfected this technique over decades. I'd watched her deploy it at charity luncheons, PTA meetings, family interventions. The weapons may look soft, but they're designed to cut deep. The business is struggling, she whispered, her hands twisting together, her diamond wedding band catching the light. Preston's been under so much stress. He's trying so hard, but the market has been difficult, and your father's health isn't what it used to be. My father played 18 holes yesterday, by the way. I saw the scorecard on his desk. The family legacy is at risk, darling. She stepped closer, one hand reaching for mine. We need to modernize. Make some changes. Preston has such innovative ideas, but he needs support. He needs family unity. The words flowed like a script she'd rehearsed. Each phrase was designed to activate my guilt reflexes, to remind me of my position in the family hierarchy. Your grandmother would want us united. Her voice broke perfectly on the word grandmother. You're the responsible one, Savannah. You've always been so capable, so strong. Help your brother succeed. After everything we've sacrificed for your education, for your opportunities. Something flickered in my chest. Old wiring trying to fire. For one split second, watching my mother's tears slide down her carefully made-up face, I felt my hands start to shake. Maybe there was a peaceful solution. Maybe if I just talked to Preston, set up proper oversight, created accountability systems. I'm good at systems. Maybe I could fix this without destroying everything. The thought came unbidden, unwanted. A childhood memory surfaced like oil on water. I'm 12 years old, holding my acceptance letter to the gifted program. My mother's face crumpled when she read it, tears streaming. You're making your brother feel small. Can't you just be happy quietly? Does everything have to be about you? I'd apologized. Declined the program. Spent the next 6 years in regular classes while Preston failed upward through private tutors and grade adjustments. My hands shook harder now, the coffee cup rattling slightly against the granite counter. My mother saw it, her eyes sharpening with something that might be triumph. The kitchen door swung open. Wyatt entered, glasses slightly crooked, reaching for a water glass from the cabinet. His timing was too perfect to be accidental. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt. He filled his glass slowly, taking his time. His eyes met mine in the reflection of the window above the sink. Then he shifted, the phone screen angled just enough for me to see. The text message glowed blue against black. Eleanor to Preston. I will wear her down. She's weak. Start drafting the waiver. Preston's reply, perfect. Knew the tears would work. The shaking stopped. Everything stopped. The emotional bond didn't fray or crack. It snapped. Clean. Surgical. Complete. I looked at my mother, and I didn't see my mother anymore. I saw a hostile entity, a subject of investigation, an individual engaged in active fraud who is currently attempting to manipulate the auditor assigned to her case. The manipulation wasn't unconscious. It wasn't a mother's misguided love or outdated values. It was a calculated strategy, premeditated, coordinated. The final remnant of hope died so quietly I barely noticed its passing. Everyone. My posture shifted. Shoulders rolled back. Spine straightened. The trembling in my hands evaporated like it was never there. When I met my mother's eyes, I was looking at her the way I look at falsified balance sheets and cooked books. This was a business problem requiring a solution. I need time to think. The words came out measured, each one placed with precision. This is overwhelming. My mother's face flooded with relief. She thought the tears worked. She thought I was breaking. Of course, darling. Take all the time you need. She reached for me again, and I let her hug me. Let her think she'd won. Let's talk at dinner tonight, I said into her shoulder. I want to do what's right for the family. She pulled back, cupping my face in her hands. Her smile was radiant, genuine in its relief. That's my good girl. The words that used to fill me with warmth now sounded like prison bars closing. I'm nobody's good girl anymore. Later, I was unpacking in the guest room when Wyatt appeared in the doorway. He closed the door quietly behind him, then held up his phone again. This time it was Preston's calendar application. Sunday, 8 p.m., Victory dinner reservation. Table for 4 at Le Bernardin. They were already planning the celebration for after I signed. Already booking tables, already counting their victory. I felt my mouth curve into something that might technically be a smile, but there was no warmth in it, just ice and certainty. Let them plan, I said quietly. Let them hope. After Wyatt left, I locked the guest room door. The briefcase sat on the bed where I left it. Black leather gleaming in the afternoon light. I popped the latches. They clicked open with satisfying finality. Inside, everything was precisely organized. The courier service had delivered the final package to the servants' entrance at 6 a.m., just as I'd arranged. Certified deeds from Fairfield County Land Records, each page bearing official seals and signatures. The forensic audit report, 247 pages bound in navy covers, every transaction documented and cross-referenced. The FBI contact card sat on top. Special Agent Martinez, Financial Crimes Unit. I'd already spoken with him twice. He knew what was coming tomorrow. And underneath everything, a cream-colored envelope. My grandmother's handwriting across the front. For Savannah. I opened it carefully. Inside, a single page, dated November 2021, 2 weeks before she died. My dearest Savannah, if you're reading this, you're ready. You've always had the strength. You just needed permission to use it. Don't let them make you small. The papers are your armor. The truth is your weapon. Trust your strength. All my love, Nana Eloise. I touched her signature. The ink slightly faded now, but still firm. Still certain. I'm ready, I whispered to the empty room. Tomorrow they'll learn exactly what happens when you bet against the competent daughter. The formal dining room felt smaller tonight, despite its vaulted ceilings and expansive mahogany table. Saturday evening light filtered through the tall windows, casting long shadows across the silver place settings. I forced myself to slump in my chair, shoulders curving inward like a question mark. Eleanor had outdone herself. Prime rib? Roasted fingerling potatoes? Some kind of glazed carrots? I was pretending to push around my plate. The china was the good set, the one she only uses for important occasions. Tonight qualified, apparently. My impending defeat warranted celebration. I picked at the meat, cut it into smaller and smaller pieces, without actually eating much. My eyes felt scratchy. I'd rubbed them deliberately before coming downstairs, made sure they looked red and tired. The exhaustion wasn't entirely manufactured. Maintaining this performance takes more energy than you'd think. Savannah, darling, you've barely touched your dinner. My mother's voice dripped with concern. She reached across the table, her hand hovering near mine. Are you feeling all right? I set down my fork. The clink against china sounded too loud in the sudden quiet. I'm tired. The words came out flat. Defeated. So tired of being the outsider. Of always fighting. Of never being enough. Preston paused mid-chew. Richard lowered his wineglass slowly, watching me with those calculating gray eyes. Eleanor's hand finally landed on mine, squeezing gently. Her skin felt cool, her grip firm. I let my gaze drift around the table, landing on each of them in turn before settling on Preston. His smirk had faded into something cautious, almost suspicious. Good. Let him wonder if I was genuine or broken. You win, Preston. I met his eyes directly. I'll sign the waiver. The reaction was immediate. Eleanor gasped, her hand tightening around mine until the pressure bordered on painful. Oh, sweetheart. You don't know how much this means to us. To the family. Richard nodded, his expression shifting into something that might pass for approval in better lighting. That's a mature decision, Savannah. Very mature. This is what's best for everyone. Preston's smirk returned, spreading across his face like oil on water. I knew you'd see the reason eventually. You always were the smart one. He lifted his wine glass in a mock toast. To family unity. I didn't raise my glass. Instead, I leaned forward slightly, my voice dropping to something quieter, more careful. But I want to do this properly. Tomorrow, at the anniversary party, in front of everyone. A public show of unity. I paused, letting the words settle. Then I'll go back to Chicago, and we can all move forward. Clean slate. The table went completely still. I could almost hear the gears turning in Preston's head. The calculations running behind his eyes. Public validation. Witnesses to his victory. The perfect stage for his triumph. That's perfect. His voice rose with enthusiasm. Absolutely perfect. Nothing says family solidarity like a public announcement at Mom and Dad's anniversary celebration. Richard's smile widened. It'll show everyone that the Brooks family stands together. Good optics for the business transition. Eleanor squeezed my hand again, her eyes glistening with what might have been genuine emotion if I didn't know better. This is all I've ever wanted. My children united. I managed a small smile. It felt tight on my face, like wearing someone else's skin. Preston pulled out his phone before dessert even arrived. His thumbs flew across the screen, typing rapidly. I need to text Melissa. Expand the guest list. This deserves a bigger audience. How much bigger? Richard asked. Double it. Maybe more. I want investors there. That tech startup founder from Stanford. The Hendersons. Maybe even reach out to the local business reporter from the Gazette. Preston's excitement built with each name. This is a watershed moment for Brooks Luxury Retreats. Richard reached for the wine list the server left on the sideboard. He flipped through it, running his finger down the pages until he found what he wanted. We'll need proper champagne for the toast. The Cristal. $2,000 a bottle, but worth it for this occasion. My mother had already pulled out her own phone, scrolling through what looked like a seating chart. I'll need to rearrange everything. Put Savannah at the head table, of course. Right between Preston and your father. Very visible. Very unified. I watched them plan my humiliation like it was a wedding. The irony wasn't lost on me. Preston looked up from his phone, his expression almost gleeful. Blair's on her way over. She'll want to help plan. Maybe coordinate something on social media. Family reconciliation plays really well with the lifestyle influencer crowd. My phone buzzed in my lap. I glanced down casually. Wyatt's text was brief, holding steady. I didn't respond. Not yet. Instead, I excused myself from the table, citing exhaustion. Eleanor stood to hug me, pulling me close. Her perfume used to make me feel safe. Now, I was disgusted. I'm so proud of you, she whispered against my hair. This is the right thing. You'll see. I stepped back from the embrace. My eyes were completely dry. I checked my watch. 8:47. The information filed itself away automatically. Good night, I said to the room. Big day tomorrow. As I climbed the stairs, I heard Preston's voice drift up from the dining room. She actually bought it. Can you believe it? Told you the guilt trip would work. Richard's response was muffled, but the tone was celebratory. Wine glasses clinked. Someone laughed. I closed the guest room door behind me and leaned against it for a moment, letting the mask slip. My face relaxed into neutral, the careful exhaustion evaporating. 11 o'clock found me sitting on the bed, briefcase open beside me. The contents spread across the cream-colored comforter in careful order. Certified deeds from Fairfield County Land Records. Official seals pressed into heavy paper. The forensic audit report, 247 pages bound in black, the spine reading, Brooks Luxury Retreats, LLC. Comprehensive fraud analysis. The FBI contact card sat on top. Special Agent Martinez, Financial Crimes Unit. I'd already spoken with him twice. He knew what was coming tomorrow. The envelope with the capacity affidavit video drive felt heavier than it should. I turned it over in my hands, seeing Nana Eloise's handwriting on the label. Her final insurance policy. Her gift to me. I rehearsed the timeline mentally. Richard's toast at 8:15. My interruption at 8:16. The deeds first, then the video. The audit report last, for maximum impact. The FBI submission confirmation was the final blow. My phone alarm was already set for 6 tomorrow morning. The escape bag sat packed in the closet. I wouldn't be staying after the party. No tearful goodbyes. No second chances for them to manipulate me. I opened my laptop and verified the backup locations one final time. 3 separate encrypted cloud storage accounts. The evidence existed in multiple places now, beyond their reach. Downstairs, I heard the front door open. Blair's voice carried up the stairs, bright and excited. More celebration. More champagne. More planning for my public defeat. My phone lit up with Preston's drunk text to someone named Jason, inheritance secured. Looking at yachts tomorrow. The 50-footer we saw in Newport. Another text, this time to a luxury car dealer. Still have that Aston Martin? Might be interested next week. Blair posted an Instagram story. I don't follow her, but Wyatt screenshotted it and sent it to me. Champagne glasses. Emoji celebrations. Text reading. Big family announcement tomorrow. I screenshotted Preston's texts and added them to the evidence folder. Every piece of hubris documented. Every moment of overconfidence preserved. None of them sleep tonight. Too excited. Too certain of victory. I slept perfectly. 8 hours, dreamless and deep. Tomorrow, they'd understand the difference between confidence and competence. Tomorrow, the trap closes. Back to the present moment, I said. You can't give away what isn't yours. The room didn't just fall quiet. It froze. I stood, my movements deliberate, and reached for my briefcase. The leather felt cool under my fingertips. I'd rehearsed this moment 100 times, but my hands were steady now. No trembling. No doubt. The certified deeds hit the head table with a satisfying thud. Grandma transferred the Brooks Luxury Retreats portfolio to the Eloise Trust in October 2021. My voice carried to every corner of the ballroom, clear and cold. I am the sole trustee. Preston, you are an employee with 0 equity. Preston's face drained of color. My father's champagne flute tilted in his hand, amber liquid sloshing dangerously close to the rim. That's impossible. Richard stammered, his polished composure cracking like cheap porcelain. Those properties are mine. They've always been. Fairfield County Clerk's Office, instrument number 2021 to 874. I flipped open the top deed, revealing the county seal and official stamps. Public record. Anyone can verify it. My mother gripped the table edge. She manipulated her. Nana Eloise wasn't in her right mind. She was confused, vulnerable. Actually, Wyatt's voice cut through from behind me. She was remarkably lucid. He stepped forward with his laptop. I caught the eye of the AV technician in the corner, the one I'd tipped $200 an hour ago. He nodded and switched the input. Wyatt connected his cable, and the projector hummed to life immediately. My father moved to stop him, but security hired for the event stepped subtly into position. I made those arrangements this morning. The screen flickered. Nana Eloise's face appeared, sharp-eyed and alert despite her 78 years. Mr. Vance, the family attorney, sat beside her in the frame. The timestamp read October 15, 2021. My name is Eloise Catherine Brooks. Her voice filled the ballroom, stronger than I remembered. I am 78 years old, and I am of sound mind and body. Mr. Vance, my attorney of 32 years, is present as witness to my capacity. The guests leaned forward. I watched my mother's face crumble as Nana continued. I am transferring all properties held in the Brooks Luxury Retreats portfolio to a trust with my granddaughter Savannah as sole trustee. I'm doing this because Richard has always valued appearance over character, and Preston has inherited his father's worst qualities. She paused, looking directly into the camera. Savannah earned this through confidence, not blood. The video ended. The lawyer certification and witness signatures remained frozen on screen, undeniable and legally airtight. Eleanor collapsed into her chair. The sound of expensive fabric hitting wood echoed through the silence. I reached into my briefcase again. The forensic audit was heavier than the deeds. 247 pages bound in navy covers. I dropped it beside the deeds. Since Preston never owned the properties, the $800,000 transferred to BM Interiors wasn't profit distribution. I flipped to the highlighted sections, years of training making my movements precise. It was wire fraud and money laundering. Blair's champagne glass slipped from her fingers, shattering against the marble floor. These pages detail the shell company analysis. I turned the report so the nearby guests could see the charts and transaction records. False invoicing. Systematic embezzlement over 18 months. Blair signed every document, opened every account, made every withdrawal. Preston finally found his voice. You're lying. You're just bitter that Dad finally recognized I submitted this to the FBI Financial Crimes Unit. I checked my watch. The small motion felt monumental. Your business accounts were frozen 45 minutes ago. Preston fumbled for his phone. His thumb swiped frantically across the screen. I watched the color drain further from his face as he saw them. 17 missed calls. The notification banner glowed across the top. Account access restricted. Federal hold. My father's phone buzzed. Then again. He read the screen. And for the first time in my life, I saw genuine fear in his eyes. Personal guarantee triggered due to fraud investigation, he whispered. His voice barely carried. Notice of immediate loan recall. Legal proceedings initiated. The mansion. The collateral for the $3 million business line of credit they used to cover Preston's theft. All of it. Gone. Blair stood so fast her chair toppled backward. I didn't know. Preston said it was legitimate consulting work. I just signed what her voice broke. She grabbed her clutch and ran, her heels clicking frantically across the marble. Preston called after her, but she was already gone, probably calling a lawyer of her own. You destroyed us. Preston lunged across the table. His hands reached for my throat, but security caught him before he made contact. Two men in dark suits restrained him as he struggled. I'm your brother. How could you? You stole from your family, I said, meeting his eyes without blinking. I simply documented it. They dragged him toward the exit. His screams echoed off the crystal chandeliers. Threats. Curses. Promises of revenge that meant nothing now. The reporter's pen moved frantically across her notepad. The investors Richard invited to witness his management transition backed away, creating distance from the liability. Wyatt stood beside me, silent and solid. I turned to face the exodus. They left in clusters, whispers spreading like wildfire. Within minutes, only scattered champagne flutes and abandoned plates remained. Richard and Eleanor huddled together at the far end of the table, her pearl necklace askew, his perfect silver hair disheveled. I walked to the bar and selected a single champagne glass. Crystal. Expensive. Paid for with money they thought they'd stolen. I raised it to the empty ballroom, to the scattered legal documents covering the head table, to the grandmother who saw this moment coming 3 years ago. Competence. The word hung in the air as the last guests disappeared through the double doors, leaving only wreckage behind. 3 months later, February sunlight floods my Chicago penthouse through floor-to-ceiling windows. The city sprawls below, chrome and glass catching the winter light. Soft jazz plays from hidden speakers. My coffee steams beside a stack of audit files, the silence so complete it feels deliberate. No country club chaos. No performative family dinners. Just work and peace and the satisfaction of competence. My phone buzzes. Wyatt's name appears on the screen. Come up, I tell the doorman through the intercom. Send him straight to the penthouse. He arrives 10 minutes later carrying 2 pastry boxes from the bakery downstairs. His wire-rimmed glasses catch the light as he grins. Figured you'd be working through lunch. Guilty. I clear space on the balcony table, pushing aside case files. How's the PhD? Fully funded now. He settles into the chair across from me, opening the boxes to reveal croissants and Danish pastries. Turns out legitimate rental portfolio profits make excellent educational investments. I'm specializing in forensic accounting. I wonder who inspired that. Can't imagine. His smile softens. Do you ever regret it? The question doesn't surprise me. I've asked myself the same thing exactly twice in 3 months. Both times, the answer came instantly. Not even for a second. We sit in comfortable silence. Coffee cooling between us. No weight of family expectations pressing down. No measuring our words against what Preston might overhear. What mother might weaponize. What father might dismiss. Just two people who survived the same war, drinking coffee on a Tuesday morning. Later, after Wyatt leaves for his afternoon seminar, I pull out my checkbook. The Nana Eloise Scholarship Fund letter sits beside my laptop. 3 handwritten thank you notes paper-clipped to the top. First-generation college students studying accounting. Kids who understand what it means to be competent in families that value something else entirely. I write the check carefully. $50,000. My grandmother's legacy, helping others escape the traps she recognized too late in her own son. The business thrives without Preston's embezzlement, bleeding it dry. Revenues up 40% under professional management. Properties renovated, properly marketed, legally compliant. I renamed it last month. Eloise Trust Properties has a better ring than Brooks Luxury Retreats ever did. My consulting firm expanded twice since September. Other scapegoat children find me through referrals, their stories variations on the same theme. Golden child steals, competent child gets blamed, family chooses the thief. I use my story anonymously in consultations, watching recognition dawn in their eyes. You're not crazy. You're not ungrateful. You're being robbed. The facts are simple. Preston got 3 years in federal prison for wire fraud and money laundering. Minimum security, but still prison. Blair avoided jail through cooperation. But BM Interiors dissolved and her reputation evaporated. She works retail now, paying legal fees with what's left after restitution. The 3-carat diamond sold at auction. Richard and Eleanor live in a cramped 2-bedroom rental in Stamford. The bank seized everything. The mansion was sold to a tech executive from California who gutted the interior immediately. My mother called twice. I changed my number. My father sent a letter. I returned it unopened. That evening, I stand on the balcony with wine, watching twilight paint the skyline in shades of amber and violet. My tablet rests on the railing. Journal entry visible. Paper beats promises. Evidence beats emotion. Competence beats connection. No anxious thoughts spiral through my mind about whether I should have tried harder, been softer, given them one more chance. My phone rings. Unknown number. Greenwich area code. I silence it without checking. Don't even wonder who it was. The city lights begin their nightly emergence, pinpricks of brightness against gathering darkness. I raise my glass to the skyline, to the life I built from the ashes of their betrayal. Nana Eloise's words from the video echo in my memory, her voice clear and certain, never apologize for being the competent one. I whisper them back to the city, to myself, to whatever comes next. My briefcase sits closed on the dining table behind me, a label visible in the ambient light. Next case. Next.